2020 presidential election is less than 2 years away. President Donald Trump is looking to win and join the ranks of Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, just to name a few, as two-term presidents. Meanwhile, the list of candidates is growing, with the Democrats having the most people interested in running against Mr. Trump. Some of the more notable Democrats looking to gain their party's nomination and unseat President Trump include current U.S. Senators Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, who unsuccessfully ran for president in 2016 and currently represents the state of Vermont, says he is in. Also, former San Antonio mayor and past U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Julian Castro is another name that's being mentioned. Most recently, fellow Texan Beto O'Rourke has made headlines with his announcement that he will be a presidential contender. Political analyst Mustafa Tamiz has been keeping on top of the 2020 presidential race. He has a background in politics, national security, and community relations. In 2005, the Bush administration tapped him as a consultant to the Department of Homeland Security, and he joins us now. Mustafa, thank you so much for joining us. Let's dive straight into politics, specifically the climate of the 2020 presidential race. We've heard and are seeing that the voting face of America is changing.
For the first time, Generation Z and the millennials outvote baby boomers, which is a tremendous shift in American politics, because for recent elections, baby boomers have dominated the election. So a younger pool of voters, a more diverse pool of voters, may change not just the election outcome, but may change what states are at play.
And what kind of message do you think this will send to Washington?
Well, it's going to shake up Washington, because elections are usually governed by consultants who look at prior elections to determine, what the polling makeup should be for voters that they're polling, trying to figure out what issues resonate with voters. But if you have a whole new electorate coming to the 2020 election cycle, in the presidential race, where a lot of Senate races and congressional races are happening across the country, it may change, maybe a transformational election. And we don't know what will happen, but candidates like Beto O'Rourke, who are inspiring young voters, may have a big to-do in terms of what happens in 2022.
If Mr. O'Rourke takes Texas, he'll also be grabbing 38 electoral votes, I should say. Can the GOP lose Texas and still win the election?
Well, it's very difficult for the Republican Party to win the White House without winning Texas, because if you look at our Electoral College, Democrats dominate the coast, California, New York, big electoral votes, Illinois, but the Republicans have always had Texas with its 38 electoral votes. If Beto O'Rourke is on the ballot and Texas is no longer a solid Republican state, those 38 electoral votes may make it very difficult, if not impossible, for Republicans to win the White House for maybe even a generation.
So how important is Texas then in the overall outcome of the election?
Well, Texas is not only the second largest state and the 10th largest economy, but it is becoming a battleground state like Florida. Up until recent elections, Texas was a solid Republican state, especially for presidential elections. But what we're seeing, if Beto O'Rourke is a nominee, he came so close to beating Ted Cruz, and a lot of people would put their Texas pride in front of their partisanship and give him those few extra points to maybe win the White House.
Mustafa Tamiz, political analyst, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a complete